What is up, guys? There we go. Stream's on. Let me actually change the name. Is that still, yeah. Let's edit. There we go. If the world was ending, I wanna be next to you. Right, let's see. Amazon. We got our microphone, earphones. We got our earphones. Here's the thing. So yesterday, I decided not to warm up before playing. I did aim laps, but then I was just like, fuck this warm up routine, bro. Fuck this shit. And I played horribly. And then I just kept playing until I basically deranked on purpose. Right? It's gonna make me have to earn my way back, which is gonna happen tonight. I know the stream says today, but, you know, it's nighttime. I'm deceitful like that. Motherfuck. Motherfuck. What the fuck, motherfuck? You wanna fuck? I wanna fuck with you! Chill, Sonna. I wanna fuck you. Fight. I wanna fuck Chuck. I wanna fuck Chuck. Wanna fight with Chuck. Fuck Chuck. Goddamn inbred ass fucking Brazilian, bro. Six foot tall, 185 pounds. Vanderlei Silva. Before I met you. Boy, before I met you, I didn't know they could stack crap that high. I fucked it up so many times, but it's still so good. It's so good, bro. Boy. 6 foot tall, 185 pounds. But boy, 6 foot tall, 185 pounds. Boy, before I met you, I didn't know they could stack crap that high. You and the bad guy. Only on FX. Only on Fox. Still can't believe Chilson and fought John Jones. Imagine if enhanced Chilson and fought and non-enhanced John Jones. I think John Jones might have gotten destroyed. I really do. It's just like overpowered. Maybe. Or maybe he's just technically a much better grappler overall. I don't know about that.
2024 UFC, another great year of the sport. Crazy events like UFC 300, UFC 299, fighters like Alex Pereira and Ilia Topuria carrying the UFC on their backs this year. Insane fights and performances all throughout the entire MMA landscape. Like 2024 was a solid year, man. And I wonder how many fans were actually introduced to the sport this year compared to the others. We had a bunch of new champions, a lot of new contenders, big upsets in the sport, 7 new champions across all the divisions, with Merab Dvalishvili Dvalishvili beating Sean O'Malley, Ilia Topuria beating Alexander Volkanovski, Bilal Muhammad beating Leon Edwards, Dricus Duplessis beating Sean Strickland, Valentina Shevchenko becoming once again a champion of the flyweight division,
that was
and
a
Juliana
horrible
Pena
fight.
once again becoming the champion of the bantamweight division. With
Yeah,
all these new
also a
champions, it
horrible
goes to
fight.
show how great guys like Alexander Pantoja and Islam Makhachev, Tom Aspinall, and Zhang Wei Li were to keep their belts this year. But before we get to the awards, this video is sponsored by Plarium, and special thanks
Yeah,
to
Zhang Wei
Universal
Li seems to be
Studios licensing.
regressing.
Raid Shadow Legends, the
Slowly.
sponsor of today's video, is partnering with Universal Products and Experiences and Mattel to bring He-Man and Skeletor to the game as legendary champions. An amazing game to play in between fights or just whenever you have free time. And man, there's been so many heroes in the game that we haven't gotten yet, and Raid does have an offer for you to get one of the most powerful heroes in all of Raid Shadow Legends. And two of these
What?
powerful heroes you can get are the legendary He-Man and Skeletor.
No.
Starting from November 25th to December 25th, you can get both of these legendary champions. He-Man's all about enhancing his own attack,
For
defeating the
shizzle.
enemy, whereas Skeletor is all about debuffing his enemy. And everyone can get Skeletor specifically for free simply by logging into Raid on 7 days between November 25th and January 8th. And on that last day, on day 7, you'll get Skeletor and extra bonus rewards for the next 7 days after that. Players can also complete the Champion Pass to get the Champion He-Man. And if you haven't started playing Raid yet, you definitely have to at least try it out. Click my link in the description or scan my QR code to get great bonuses. And on sign up, you'll immediately get a huge starter pack with an epic champion, Tagore from the Orc faction. Then from level 15, you'll get another starter pack with an epic champion, Yugo. And also on top of that, when you get Raid through my link, use a promo code Monkey King. It's one
Monkey
word,
King?
And you'll get the legendary champion.
What? I didn't know the Weasel was
for
black.
free. Just use the promo code available and they'll go through the
Enough.
Weasel's MMA Awards
Enough.
for 2024. We have a whole bunch of different categories. And we'll start with
the
the
Weasel
basic
Awards.
ones. Who was the fighter of the year? This is something we talked about before. I think the 5 fighters that are up for debate for this award are Alex Pereira, who had 3 title wins in record-breaking time, back to back to back. The only champion with 3 wins this year at UFC 300 in April, UFC 303 in June, and UFC 307 in October. All knockout wins, and even saving cards where the UFC had to scramble for some kind of title fight. Alex was the one that stepped up as a champion. The other fighter could be Ilia Topuria. Even though he only had 2 wins, the least of any of the fighters in debate here, he does have arguably the 2 biggest wins of the year, beating Alexander Volkanovski at UFC 298 in February, and then he beat Max Holloway at UFC 308 in October.
Very
Both
true.
knockout wins. The only fighter to ever knock out Max in a fight. He's the other fighter that could win. Then there's Joaquin Buckley. Joaquin Buckley had a fantastic career. 4 wins. Went from unranked to number 6 in the welterweight division.
Yeah,
A
it's
fighter
true.
that nobody thought would be some top contender in the welterweight division.
Yeah, but the
It's
welterweight
crazy to
division
see
is
him
really weak,
amongst the best
honestly.
at welterweight when Kevin Holland isn't, right? Kevin Holland knocked him out in the middleweight division. Chris Curtis knocked him out. Alessio Di Chirico knocked him out, but it looks like moving down a weight class was such a big move for his career. In 2024, Buckley beat Vicente Luque by TKO, which put him into the top 15, then beat Nursultan Ruzaboyev, then knocked out Wonderboy, then TKO'd Colby Covington due to a cut. Big year for Buckley. The other fighter is Carlos Prates, who also had 4 wins this year. Not only was he unranked, he wasn't even in the UFC in the beginning of this year. He had his UFC debut in February.
Prates?
Against Trevin Giles, knocked him out. Then he knocked out Charles
Oh,
Radke.
one of the fighting
Then knocked
nerds.
out Li Jing Liang and then Neil Magny. Now he's a top 15 fighter. Big year for the fighting nerd. I think the winner of Fighter of the Year, after a lot of debate between 2 specific fighters, I think it's really between Alex and Ilia. Fighter of the Year is Ilia Topuria. Ilia beat 2 all-time great fighters back to back. Insane finishes. First fighter ever to
Champion
knock
of the
out Max
year,
Holloway.
Alex
And of
Pereira,
course,
for sure.
his wins are so much bigger than Alex's, where Alex didn't beat a single all-time great fighter. Ilia beat 2 of them. And you don't have to be an all-time great fighter to have a great year. When Ilia is doing that in the same year, it's going to be very hard to beat him, right? That's the equivalent of like
For
if
shizzle.
Alex knocked out Daniel Cormier and prime Alexander Gustafsson in the same year or something like that. But instead, he
John
beat
Jones.
Yuri, Jamal Hill,
Definitely
and Khalil
not
Roundtree. None of them
Alex
compare
Gustafsson.
to Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway. But
I
we
mean,
do have a
prime
separate
Alex
category,
Gustafsson.
which is going to go to
Yeah.
the most impactful fighter of the year. Who was carrying the year on their back? Essentially, if it wasn't for them, the year would have been different for the sport. And the nominees are Alexander Pantoja, who had 2 title defenses this year, essentially got raised from the co-main event to the main event of UFC 310, welcomed a newcomer, and earlier beat Brandon Royval for the 2nd time. There's also Ilia Topuria, who beat Volkanovski and Max. Big wins this year. Then there's Joaquin Buckley, who fought 4 times this year and also headlined a card as well. And finally, Alex Pereira, where he saved UFC 303, amazing performances, headlined UFC 300, which might be one of the biggest UFC cards ever. And Alex Pereira is, of course, the winner of Impactful Fighter of the Year. If it wasn't for him, 2024 for MMA would have been very different. Then we go to the most improved fighter. Which fighter made the biggest improvements to their game? We're talking about skills and techniques and all that stuff. Nobody thought this guy would be as good as he actually became. I guess the nominees or the fighters in debate here are Charles Johnson. Made huge improvements not only to his game planning for fights, his boxing got way better, his footwork got better, and he really put that on display when he defeated Joshua Van, showing everybody that Charles Johnson is in fact a completely different fighter now. There is Joaquin Buckley. Again, like I mentioned before, nobody thought that Buckley would ever be one of the best welterweights. He was extremely wild before. He was reckless with his striking, didn't wrestle as much, but then he started to use his takedowns and actually strike more intelligently, be more patient with his power, and pace himself.
Joaquin Buckley actually got super, like, refined, is what I would say, for sure. He was in his, wild boy, fucking throwing weights around, fucking gym bro phase, but now he's dialing it in and becoming an IFBB pro type shit.
Better his fights.
That we always
Joaquin
knew
Buckley's
he could
fight
be.
IQ has grown more than anything else, but he has also become a well-rounded fighter. Then Yusuf Zalal is another one of the best improved fighters in 2024. He was cut from the UFC in 2022 after a 3-fight loss streak. He lost to Ilia Topuria, which is crazy he fought him that early, Sung Woo Choi, and Sean Woodson. Then he had a draw with Mon Blackshear when he tried his hand in the bantamweight division. He got cut from the UFC, went to Sparta Combat League, back at featherweight, destroyed 3 fighters there, came back to the UFC, and has looked like a completely new fighter. 3 submission wins in the UFC against Billy Quarantillo, Jarno Aarons, and Jack Shore, winning 2 Performance of the Night bonuses. So he went from exclusively decisions in his first UFC run. Every single one of his fights went to a decision. His second UFC run have all been finishes. Then there's Alexander Volkov, who improved his takedown defense, even improved his striking to where it was, now being able to outstrike Cyril Gane, where they had a fight before. There's a 1-to-1 comparison with how much better Alexander Volkov has gotten. He fought Cyril Gane a couple years ago, and he got completely outstruck. In 2024, he outstruck Cyril Gane. He outstruck Sergey Pavlovich to the point that now nobody thinks Pavlovich is like the same kind of fighter. He doesn't have the same aura around him because of what Volkov was able to do to him, picking him apart on the stand-up.
I feel like Volkov did do a lot of good in that fight, but Pavlovich, I feel like he was a little bit starstruck, or not starstruck, but like he was less himself after that Tom Aspinall knockout. I feel like the next fight we see of Pavlovich, he's going to be back.
Doesn't mean Sergey's that bad. It just shows how much better Volkov has gotten. And I think the Cyril Gane performance, which he should have won, showed that no, Sergey's not bad. Volkov is just way better than we thought he was. But I think the most improved fighter from 2024 is Joaquin Buckley. Nobody else surprised if it was. But I think that he should have won, showed that no, Sergey's not bad. How much better Volkov has gotten. And I think the Cyril Gane performance, which he should have won, showed that no, Sergey's not bad. Volkov is just way better than we thought he was. But I think the most improved fighter from 2024 is Joaquin Buckley. Nobody else surprised the fans of how much better they have gotten than
Joaquin,
Buckley.
for sure.
From what could have been essentially some journeyman, right? Eventually he'll win some, lose some, win some, lose some, until he is that journeyman of the sport. To actually one of the top contenders of the welterweight division, nobody thought Buckley would be that good. The prospect of the year, this is the prospect with the best performances, the best wins, and all of that. The nominees are John Silva, who had 3 wins this year, knocking out Weston Wilson, Charles Jourdain, the first fight.
Now, he actually went from like a nothing, a nobody, to now he's a legit title contender in the welterweight division.
Ever to knock him out. And he went up another weight class to fight Drew Dober and TKO'd him due to a doctor stoppage. Amazing performance from John Silva in that fight. Then there's Peyton Talbot, who knocked out Cameron Simon, another talented fighter, and Giannis Gamouri in 19 seconds. Showing
Or is this the prospect of the year? Yeah, prospect of the year. I think it is Peyton Talbot, honestly.
A future contender of the bantamweight division. Then there's Felipe Lima, submitting Muhammad Naimov, which is a very difficult opponent.
Wait, what about the Spanish guy? The Spanish guy is really good too, but I think Peyton Talbot takes it over him. But Yeah, the Spanish dude.
debut and put on an excellent performance against Miles Johns, showing that he is also going to be a future contender of the featherweight division. Then there's Carlos Prates. Technically, he's not a prospect anymore because he is ranked, but he started this year outside of the UFC, went from his debut to top 15 in 1 year, knocking out Trevin Giles, Charles Radke, Li Jingliang, and Neil Magny. And I think the winner is Carlos Prates. I don't think you can go to anyone else. John Silva's close. I think he's like second, but Carlos Prates literally went from non-UFC fighter to top 15, 4 wins in a single year. If that's not prospect of the year, I don't know what else is.
Yeah,
and
that's
he
true.
knocked out
That's
all
true.
of those
That's true.
fighters too. The fastest rise of the year. This is the fighter
Dude,
that
I
went
haven't
from
seen his fights.
nobody to
Like, everybody's on this fucking fighting nerds train. I have not seen their fights at all. I need to watch those fights.
somebody. The nominees are Diego Lopez, who was unranked in the beginning of the year, and
Yeah.
now is number 3 in the rankings. He is essentially at a title shot. That is absolutely insane. He knocked out Sadiq Youssef, beat Dan Ige and Brian Ortega, and now he's right there for a title shot. There's Carlos Prates, like we mentioned.
I think Diego Lopez should have a rematch with fuck all these Dagestani dudes. I can't fucking remember their fucking Russian ass names. The guy that he fought in his debut, the one that had a fight with Aljo recently. Yeah, that guy. Fucking, I can't remember his name, but they should have a rematch for the title contender limiter.
Before,
Illuminator-
non-UFC fighter to now
Illuminator.
number 13 in the rankings. Insane. Umar Nurmagomedov. He went from number 13 to number 3 in the bantamweight division off of 1 win, though. So he didn't have the amount of wins of Diego Lopez, but he did rise
True.
10 spots up in the rankings. And
Yeah,
finally,
yeah.
Jack Della Maddalena, who went from number 11 to number 4 with 1 win against Gilbert Burns. So I think it's a debate between 2 fighters.
Jack
It's either
Della had
Diego
only
Lopez
one
or
fight
Carlos
this year,
Prates.
bro.
And I'm going to go Diego Lopez. I
Yeah,
think it's a
yeah,
much
yeah,
harder climb to do in
100%.
1 year, going from unranked to number 3, and not doing it in just 1 win. Multiple wins to get there. Multiple chances
Yeah.
for a victory or defeat. And he won every single one of those fights. Short notice fights and stuff like that too go into it. I think Diego Lopez had the biggest rise in 2024. And then we go to the performances. Then the best win of the year. This is the highest level win of 2024. Which was the biggest opponent that a fighter has beaten? And the nominees are Ilia Topuria defeating Alexander Volkanovski. Ilia Topuria defeating Max
Holloway.
Lucas Duplessis defeating Israel Adesanya. And Bilal Muhammad defeating Leon Edwards. I think the biggest win this year was Ilia Topuria defeating Max Holloway. I would have said Volkanovski, but it's a Volkanovski that was coming off the knockout against Islam. That's why I wouldn't have him as number 1. I think the Max Holloway win was bigger for Ilia
That's
because
true.
that was a prime Max Holloway coming off the best performance of his career against Justin Gaethje, and Ilia was the first fighter to ever knock out Max. So not only was the win big, but how he did it was massive as well. Dricus beating Adesanya was a big one too, even though he submitted him, which everyone thought he could. Right? Obviously, Dricus can submit Adesanya. To hurt him in the stand-up and then take him down was something a lot of people didn't expect. Right? That's why Dricus' win against Adesanya is so big, and the level of opponent.
That's
Adesanya
true,
is
yeah.
one of the greatest middleweights of all time. Then you look at O'Malley knocking out Sterling. It's against one of the greatest bantamweights ever, but that was the way he was gonna win that fight, right? And then
It's weird. It seemed like Adesanya usually goes for counter striking. It seemed like he didn't want to do that because of the Strickland fight. He just could not counter Strickland very well. And the only round he won in that Strickland fight was going forward. But Dricus is a completely different style, and Dricus is wide open. While Strickland is super defensive while, coming at you and pressuring you. I think a counter style against Strickland is bad, and pushing Strickland is definitely good. I think against Dricus, going forward is like super risky because he is defensively not very sound. But somehow he has this incredible chin. He can take every single shot that you can fucking throw at him. He looks exhausted, but he can still somehow fight through it with his full power. And if you're not trying to counter him, like if you go after him and land punches, those are good punches. But like if you counter him and you land the same type of good punch, and that knocks him out because he's not expecting to get hit, right? And that shuts the brain off because he's not, tensing up his neck and his body. So his brain fucking, jumbles in his head more, right? So I think, and Dricus is so counterable too. I mean, some fighters try to counter him and they can't because he has this weird fucking style and they just can't time him. He just like has these weird fucking crazy fast blitzes that look clunky as fuck when you're not fighting him. But when you're fighting him, it like works. I feel like Adesanya could have easily beaten Dricus du Plessis. This is my thoughts on the fight. Israel Adesanya could have easily beaten Dricus du Plessis if he fought more counter heavy. But then again, you are more... No. You're more open to the takedown when you're going forward. Yeah. I think going for the counter, but when you're countering, you kind of have to think about the takedown. So you might, No. Adesanya is so good at countering at takedown defense. I feel like against Dricus du Plessis, he would actually, destroy him. And he was winning that fight. He was dominating the third round. And in the fourth round, he got knocked out. Because he got kind of tired. Because he was dominating the round before. How does Dricus not get tired? He has so much muscle mass. I don't know. His VO2 max must be crazy.
Bilal versus Leon, beat arguably top 5 greatest welterweights ever. Knockout of the year. Who had the best knockout? This is talking about the technique used and how unexpected the knockout was or how crazy it was in general. All of it goes together. The nominees would be Max Holloway knocking out Justin Gaethje at UFC 300, exchanging him at the end of the fight. 1 second left, gets the knockout, slumps Justin Gaethje to the canvas with an overhand. In one of the most iconic scenes in UFC history. There's Vinicius.
Yeah, but Justin Gaethje is another Dricus du Plessis where he's technically the shittest fighter in his division, but somehow through pure sheer toughness and just strength and ability to find shots, he has a lot of Justin Gaethje has a lot of power. He's very, very durable. He somehow doesn't get tired, but he kind of paces himself and he looks for those big shots, and somehow most of the time he lands them. It's basically Dricus and fucking Adesanya again. But yeah, Holloway pieced up Gaethje, and Adesanya did not fuck up Dricus. That being said, I think Dricus is better than Justin Gaethje. He's more Justin Gaethje than Justin Gaethje. I feel like that's what Dricus du Plessis is. And he has the wrestling threat, which Justin Gaethje just does not have. Even though he's started off wrestling. He just loves striking and getting hit in the face too much, man. Justin Gaethje has fully fallen off in my eyes, even though he got beat by Max Holloway in arguably his best form. But after this knockout loss, it's going to be tough with his style. And he's suffered knockout losses before, right? And he's bounced back, but I don't think... After this one... He got thoroughly beat the whole 5 rounds and had a 2-minute fucking window in the 4th round when he was winning. But in reality, he got dominated during that fight, beat up bad, a lot of brain damage, and then he got knocked out cold. I don't know. I don't think Justin Gaethje's coming back. His chin's never going to be the same, meaning his skill set is just not going to be as dangerous. Justin Gaethje is always very predictable, honestly. He does some wild, weird movement shit. He's super duper predictable. He does not set up his shots at all. He just tries to find your chin. And that's basically all he does. Where's my fucking Tony Ferguson beating Justin Gaethje at, bro? He's gone. He's far gone.
Oliveira knocking out Bernardo Sopai. It was such a crazy knockout where both fighters were competitive. It looked like Bernardo was the better fighter going into the 3rd round. Then he gassed out, and Vinicius Oliveira landed a flying knee that KO'd Sopai with no follow-up shots needed. One shot.
Dude, that knockout is crazy cool.
Knockout walk-off for Vinicius Oliveira. And the big thing that went into the fight was that Bernardo Sopai was regarded as a very good prospect going into that fight. He was also the favorite as well. Then there's Alex Pereira knocking out Jamal Hill, right? He was supposed to win the fight. He was the favorite going into it, even though a lot of the UFC commentators and stuff like that thought that Jamal Hill was going to win the fight somehow. There was a lot of feeling out moments in the fight, and then Jamal Hill lands a low blow. Referee Herb Dean steps in movie-like fashion.
I feel like Jamal Hill is overall a much better fighter, but he does in these quick moments, like overall, over a 5-round fight. If you ask me who wins a 5-round fight between Jamal Hill and Alex Pereira, if it goes like the whole distance, I would 100% tell you Jamal Hill wins that fight. I would. You know, Alex has really good endurance and keeps his power in the last rounds. Just overall, like working his opponent, he has that decision style, but in these like fast moments where like fighters show that they're really like fighters, that's when Jamal Hill always folds. Alex Pereira, he got knocked out. Paul Craig, he got his arm twisted off, even though he was, you know, I mean, that was really quick, bro. You know, he has those moments where he fucks up in these fast moments because he's not a fighter, man. Like, he just fucking, he's just doing the sport. He's got to get into a fighter's mindset, and I feel like Jamal Hill actually dominates everybody in the division. Hot take. I feel like technically he is actually really good. And following a game plan perfectly. He is absolutely amazing at that. It's just during the fight, man, he has these moments where he just fucking goes stupid. His fight IQ needs to come up, and I feel like he will destroy everybody. And it's like, you know, reactions, I guess. Because against danger, he does not know what to do. Like, immediate danger. Like, whoop, what the fuck is happening? You know?
Was the one that continues his own fight. He didn't need the referee, told him hold off, walks down Jamal Hill, slips his punch, and KOs him with the signature left hook. Then there's Share a Bullet, knocking out Armin Petrosian with a double spinning back fist. Video game-like combination. Never seen someone get a knockout like that. He spins for one back fist, gets blocked, then spins the other way to create even more momentum. Lands that back fist on the chin, KOs Petrosian. The technique in that fight was insane, but I think the knockout of the year, of course, goes to Max Holloway KOing Justin Gaethje. It wasn't just a knockout of the year. That's one of the greatest knockouts in UFC history. That's going to be on every single highlight reel. That's the kind of knockout that would introduce new fans to the sport. You want to see how great this sport is? Show them Max Holloway knocking out Justin Gaethje. I don't know if there's another moment that could hook on new fans.
I feel like Adesanya could have done what Max Holloway did. Just kept on his bike, kept moving around, and piecing up Dricus from the outside looking for those counters. And just keeping that jab on him, keeping that straight on him. Keep going to the body, keep digging. Not like hard, but like, just like, another one. Just tap. Until like Dricus wants to explode. And then after like one or two explosions, like, Adesanya was not going for counters at all. Like, I'd see Dricus do the wildest shit, be super duper open for a counter, and Adesanya would just reset and not go for anything because he wanted to be the one on the front foot. He followed his game plan, but his game plan was off. I'm just saying. Like, I get it. He was sick of fucking getting backed up by Strickland the entire fight, being shut down completely. I get it. That's why he wanted to come out all guns a-blazing on his front foot, and it was an entertaining as fuck fight. I'm not gonna lie. And Izzy looked really good, which is why it annoys me so much that he didn't fight his fight. If he fought his fight, he would have won that, bro. I swear.
To the sport than that. Then we'll go to submission of the
It's
year.
actually
What was the
crazy.
most creative or spectacular submission win? And the higher level the opponent, the more it's going to weigh. There's Gerald Mirashart submitting Edmund Shabazian with an arm triangle choke. This is a big comeback.
Edmund Shabazian. Wait, what?
There's Gerald Mirashart submitting Edmund Shabazian with an arm triangle.
I mean, Edmund Shabazian just gets tired, man. That's his biggest weakness. He just keeps getting fucking tired. He's a good fighter. He just gets tired, dude.
Triangle choke. This is a big
He
comeback.
crumbles, man. Get working on your endurance, my guy.
Win as well. Edmund Shabazian was
I think one of these is gonna be Chimaev versus Whitaker.
winning the fight.
As it
He was
should be.
stuffing all the takedowns. It looked like Jiro Mearshart was completely outclassed. He gets hurt to the body, goes in for a takedown, gets stuffed. Shabazian trying to finish him. Then when they get back up to their feet, GM3 times a knee, takes him down, arm triangles him. Huge win for Jiro Mearshart, man. Then there's Dricus Duplessis submitting Israel Adesanya
That's
in
true.
Dricus kind of fashion. He rocks him in the stand-up, drags him to the ground, submits him with a rear naked choke. Big win for Dricus Duplessis. Then Hamza Shemaev submitting Whitaker in a fantastic performance, taking him
Told you.
down, face cranking him. Whitaker's teeth gets pushed in. First fighter to ever submit Whitaker. And then Islam Makhachev submitting Dustin Poirier.
That's
Hits him with a
true.
single leg sweep,
Yeah.
guillotine into a Darce choke. Multiple techniques used to get that submission in what I think was the highest level submission this year. There was
Islam
not a
Makhachev.
single submission more high level, more technical than how Islam submitted
Yeah,
Dustin
yeah,
Poirier.
that's very true. That is
the
actually
submission
very
of the year.
true.
And it was one of the most skilled fights this year as well. Against a dangerous opponent. So I think Islam submitting Dustin is the submission of the year. Fight of the year.
I've
which
seen
was the
5-minute breakdowns of just that sequence of him like thinking of how to get him down, getting him down, and submitting him. Like how he set up everything.
best
And yeah, it's true. It's true. It's that technically it's the best. It's the best submission
single fight
in terms of like actual grappling technique that went into it and the thought process. You know.
2024. There was Mitzbek Earlby versus Matusz Rebecki. A lot of people thought Earlby was going to win this fight, but it came down to the scorecards and a split decision win for Rebecki. Both guys exchanging shots, taking each other down, minutes of control time on the ground. Rebecki got a knockdown, damaged Earlby's eye. Earlby inflicting damage on Rebecki. Just an absolute war. One of the best fights of the year. Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier. Very high level fight. Excellent boxing between them. Good wrestling. Dustin showing better wrestling than he's ever shown in his entire career.
True.
Both fighters landing huge
Very
shots in the
true.
stand-up, showing Islam Makhachev's improved striking, and then he finishes the fight.
Yeah,
with
Islam-
one of the
Islam
best
pretty
submissions
much
I've ever seen.
dominated him in
Islam's
his
entire
striking.
grappling sequence there
Didn't
was my
fuck him
favorite
up, but he
grappling
dominated
sequence
him.
in
Like,
UFC
he won
history
that
for me.
handle.
Then Daniel Zellhuber versus Esteban Ribovic. This fight had everything when it came to striking. The fight was so insane. High-level striking for both fighters, and action-packed the entire fight. Round 3 was insane. The jab of Zellhuber versus the combinations of Ribovic.
Ribovic, yeah,
Zellhuber
yeah,
implementing his
true,
kicks,
true.
and eventually the fight closed in into a technical brawl where they were both exchanging with each other in the pocket in moments, disengaging, where Zellhuber would throw high kicks.
Who won that,
Ribovic trying
Ribovic?
to blitz in with his combinations. Just an insane fight from beginning to end. Then Alex Pereira versus Khalil Roundtree. Great fight.
I mean, by all means, Zellhuber should have won that fight. Ribovic was so stubborn and just kept going at him. I don't know who won. I'm guessing Ribovic won. But he fought hard for that win if he won. And no shame in that loss if he lost, bro. Like, he gave it everything, bro. Like, it looked like he was getting dominated, and then he would just, like, fucking out of nowhere do a Dricus Duplessis on him. And just fucking explode with a weird-ass combination, blitzing in. And now, fucking, he's hurt, you know?
excellent striking. Alex hit the flow state and
And that sequence where Ribovic was hurt. No, wait. Well, when Zellhuber was hurt, Ribovic just fucking combo after combo after combo. He keeps running. Zellhuber keeps running. Somehow he's getting away. Then he rocks Ribovic. And they just keep exchanging and running away and fucking... that's such a good fucking sequence. Fight
then Alex Pereira
Fight of the year, Alex Pereira versus Khalil Roundtree. It was back and forth, but I wouldn't say fight of the year.
versus Khalil
For sure.
Roundtree. Great fight, excellent striking. Alex hit the
I think Ribovic and Zellhuber, bro.
flow state in the
That was a
fourth
crazy
round,
fight.
showing how technical he can be with both his offense and defense. And for the first two rounds, Khalil Roundtree landing big left hands, dropped Alex Pereira in the second round with a hook, and Khalil showing his toughness in the third and fourth rounds. So 2024 had some insane fights, but I think the winner of fight of the year is Daniel Zellhuber versus Esteban
Yeah,
Ribovic.
yeah.
This is one of the greatest fights I've ever seen. This fight
I've
had everything
watched
when it
that
came to
fight, too.
striking. Technique, skill, heart, grit, and both fighters trying to get the knockout. Just a technical war between Zellhuber and Ribovic. Their performance of the year, the single best performance, the most flawless a fighter looked this year. And the nominees are Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje. Max
Yeah.
looked great in that fight, landing the spinning back kicks,
Max.
winning most of the boxing exchanges, and then finally got that big knockout at the end of the fight. Manel Kape versus Bruno Silva. Amazing boxing from Kape, and probably the best performance of his entire career. He hit the flow state, landing big shots from distance. Taunting Silva, landing big combinations and close after engaging with the long left hand or a lunging right hook, putting on a show for the fans. Another amazing performance this year was Brandon Moreno defeating Amir Albazi. Coming back from the lackluster performance against Brandon Royval, he looked better than ever against Albazi. And
I don't know why he lost against Royval
versus Robert Whittaker, where Hamzat took him down right in the beginning of the fight, controlling for the most part, even though Robert Whittaker was resisting some positions and got out.
Hamzat, I have to say, I've seen all these fights. Hamzat finished them. That's the thing. All these fights went to a decision. Hamzat didn't have to dominate for 5 rounds, and I bet you he could have, but like, the finish was so easy for him there. It was just so easy for him. I feel like it has to be Hamzat.
One moment that got taken to the ground again and submitted for the first time in his career. I think the winner of Performance of the Year is Hamza Chimaev defeating Robert Whittaker. This is the fight that showed everybody, okay, Hamza's probably going to destroy everybody. If he could do that to Robert Whittaker, this is like the big defining thing. He did that against Robert Whittaker, one of the best anti-wrestlers middleweight has ever seen. A fighter who was preparing for Hamza for 2 training camps, knew exactly what Hamza was going to do, and he still couldn't stop it, and he is the first fighter to submit Robert Whittaker without landing that many strikes. Whittaker officially landed 2 strikes in the fight, and I can't even remember what those strikes were. They must have been some like tapping punches against the fence, and beat Whittaker in the first round. I thought the second one was maybe Manel Kape versus Bruno Silva, but the reason why I can't have that over Hamzat's is because it was against Bruno Silva, right? If he was doing that against Brandon Moreno or Kai Kara-France, that's a completely different thing, right? It's a way higher skilled opponent. Hamzat beat Whittaker that way. It wasn't like he did it against Jack Hermanson or something. Comeback of the year. The biggest comeback from losing to winning in a single fight. Gerald Mearshart defeats Edmund Shabazian. Again, looked like he was getting outclassed. He gets hurt to the body.
Dude, Shabazian always gets comebacked on, bro. That's the thing. He has a sticky ass fucking comeback, bro. There's so much cum on his back. He sucks.
Takes him to the
fuck Edmund Shabazian.
Alex Pereira defeating Khalil Roundtree. He lost the first 2 rounds. He got dropped in the second round.
That's true.
Came back in the third and fourth and completely.
But in the second, even in the second round, you were seeing Alex really coming back towards the end there. You were seeing like, okay, it's kind of inevitable at this point, you know?
He dominated Khalil. Neil Magny versus Mike Malott. Mike Malott absolutely dominated Neil Magny. Gasses out. Magny takes him to the ground and TKOs him. Renato Moicano versus Jalen Turner. Jalen Turner drops him, destroying him. The strikes that Jalen was throwing ahead.
Yeah, true. Jalen Turner versus Renato Moicano. He was actually fucking up Moicano, and he didn't go for the finish. If he went for the finish, he won the fight. He was like, no, I want to walk off KO. And because he did that, the round ended, and the next round he got dominated, and the round after that, he also got dominated. Right? It was the next 2 rounds. He did get finished, actually, due to strikes. I think it was the 3rd round. God damn, bro. So many good fights this year. Thank you, Weasel, for fucking reminding me, bro. God damn, there were some exciting ass fucking fights.
Renato's head. He was trying to knock this guy out with everything, and he nearly did. But Moicano realized that he needed money, and he turned the fight around, took Jalen Turner to the ground, and TKOs him. But I think the
okay, Moicano with his fucking money shit is so hilarious. You gotta invest in the real estate, man.
Is Renato Moicano defeating Jalen?
Gotta get your money up,
the
man.
Shabazian fight was close, but Moicano literally looked like he was about to lose the fight, and then comes back and finishes Jalen Turner in the next round. The team of the year, the best fighting team.
Fighting
nerds.
Fighting
Nerds. You have the American Top Team. You have American Kickboxing Academy. Kill Clip FC. I mean. Winners Fighting Nerds.
Wow.
They stormed 2024. In the UFC, I believe there were like 11 and 1.
I've only seen a couple of their fights, like 1 or... Okay, I've seen 3 of them. Like 3 of them I recognize, and I've seen their fights. I'm guessing maximum I've seen 3 fights from them.
1 or 11.
Even though they had like a bunch of fights this year.
It depends if you...
Okay. Wow. I fucked up. What do I do? I need to shut off stream? Oh my god. No, this is dumb, bro.